The Airbus A350 is a one-of-a-kind plane. It's the newest clean-sheet aircraft out there, having entered service less than a decade ago. Its lightweight carbon composite wings and fuselage, combined with its quiet yet powerful engines, make it one of the most efficient planes out there, beloved by airlines and passengers alike. So it comes as no surprise that the A350 family has generally enjoyed large-scale commercial success. But that could be about to change soon. After years of delays, the FAA finally greenlit the long-awaited 777X's certification flights, a crucial step in getting the plane approved and into service. Of course, let's not forget that Boeing has got their own issues going on.
This doesn't sound like a lot of transparency to me.
But if everything goes smoothly, the revamped and re-engined 777 could be a total game changer, especially considering that many of the airlines who placed massive orders for the 777X, such as Qatar Airways and Singapore Airlines, are loyal A350 customers. So has the time come for Airbus to update their flagship A350? But before diving into whether or not Airbus should re-engine the A350, we need to understand why the plane maker would consider doing so in the first place. Or in other words, what exactly changed from the best-selling 777-300ER launched 2 decades ago to the newer 777X set to enter service in 2026? Let's start with the obvious. The 777X is an enlarged version of the 777 outfitted with the most powerful aircraft engines ever built. With a diameter of over 130 inches, the GE9X is about as wide as a 737 fuselage and capable of delivering over 130,000 pounds of thrust, making it 5% more powerful than the previous gen GE90. And it's up to 15% more efficient thanks to having fewer, more efficient fan blades that allow more air to flow through. Thanks to these new engines, the 777X can seat a whopping 426 passengers, or the equivalent of about 3 extra rows of economy class seating compared to the 777-300ER. Not only that, but the 777-9 can also fly about 300 miles farther. But perhaps the 777X's most iconic feature are its huge carbon composite wings. With a wingspan of 235 feet, a whopping 23 feet more than previous gen 777s, the 777X would be in the same category as the 747-8 and the A380. This means that it would require wider runways, taxiways, and gates, significantly limiting the number of airports the aircraft can operate out of. This is where foldable wingtips come into play. With a flip of a switch, the wingspan can be reduced from 235 to 218 feet on the ground, enabling the 777X to operate out of pretty much any airport. But with its wingspan fully extended in flight, the 777X will be able to generate much more lift, helping it minimize fuel consumption and maximize efficiency. Having a higher wing aspect ratio, which basically means that the wing is longer and more slender, helps minimize drag as well. All in all, this means that the aircraft is designed to be more fuel efficient than its competitors, and according to Boeing, the 777X is the most efficient widebody on the market. But just how true is that claim, really? Since the 777X is yet to enter service, it's kind of hard to get a conclusive answer on whether or not it beats the A350 when it comes to efficiency. And there's so many factors that affect fuel efficiency, such as the route length, cabin density, and load factor, but we can try to get a rough idea. The 777-9 has a fuel capacity of about 350,000 pounds and a maximum range of 8,400 miles, meaning it burns roughly 42 pounds of fuel per mile. The A350-1000, on the other hand, being much lighter and carrying less passengers, has a fuel capacity of only 275,000 pounds, but boasts a much longer range of over 10,000 miles. This means that the A350 burns only 27.5 pounds of fuel per mile. But this isn't the full story. Let's not forget that the A350 carries much less passengers, so once we take that into account, the 777-9 comes out at 0.09 pounds of fuel burnt per mile per passenger, and the A350 comes out at 0.07 pounds of fuel, meaning that they're pretty much head to head. So the A350 no longer has a significant efficiency advantage that it had over older 777s. On top of that, the 777X is expected to become the flagship aircraft of many airlines' fleets. Many of the airlines that place significant orders for the jet have either recently retired or are currently in the process of phasing out jumbo quad jets. And when even airlines like Emirates and Lufthansa can no longer physically operate the A380 and 747, they're bound to replace them with the 777X thanks to its relatively high capacity. Since the A380 ended production way back in 2021, Airbus currently doesn't have any offerings for the high-capacity long-haul market. But the A350 is only a decade old and its technology is still relatively new. So is it even possible to re-engine it now? Well, the technology is already there. Just look at Rolls-Royce's UltraFan demonstrator, which features numerous new technologies that make it about 10% more efficient than the A350's current power plant. The UltraFan can be scaled to make engines for both narrow bodies and wide bodies in the future, and some of its technologies can also be transferred to the existing XWBs to make them more reliable and efficient. After all, the XWBs only need to deliver about 3% more thrust to allow Airbus to build a stretched version of the A350-1000 capable of accommodating up to 40 extra passengers. This would put it head on with the 777X in terms of both capacity and range. Another option could be the GE9X, but that's pretty unlikely since the GE9X exclusively powers the 777X. Of course, even re-engineering planes takes time, and realistically, if Airbus does end up making an A350neo, we're probably not going to get to fly on it until at least 2030. But that's alright since the 777X won't start deliveries until 2026, and that's assuming there aren't any further delays. So, do you guys think Airbus should build the A350neo? Me personally, I would love to fly on one. Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, if you found this video interesting, subscribe for more.